In each of these questions we're being asked to work out the difference between two times, or another way of saying it, how much time has elapsed. In each case it'd be wise to pause at the start of the question before we go through the process of working out how much time has elapsed in the given interval. The first thing we do is identify the two times, and we've done that by showing that in red and blue. The next thing we do is ask ourselves if the times are AM or PM, because that'll help us work out which is the earlier time and which is the later time. The reason why we do that is because we set this problem up like a subtraction problem. We put the later time at the top and the earlier time at the bottom. Now what we do is break them up into columns. The first column will be hours, and we've identified that in brown. We can see the 2 3s which are in line. And then we've got the minutes, which we've identified here in green. That's the 50 and 25. And we proceed to do the subtraction one at a time, going from right to left. So in the minutes column, 50 minus 25, after doing a little bit of subtraction in each column, we get an answer of 25. And then there's no carryover. So what happens is when we do 3 minus 3, it's an answer of 0. So the time difference is 0 hours 25, or in terms of minutes, 25 minutes. In this case, we're being asked to find the difference in time between 5:26 a.m. and 3 a.m. and both of these are in the morning. So we can line up the columns with 5:26 on top, that's the later time, and 3 as the earlier time. And then we'll look at the columns with hours and minutes separately. In the minutes, 26 minus 4 is 22 minutes. And in the hours column, 5 minus 3 is 2. So the time difference is 2 hours and 22 minutes. Or if we want to convert that to minutes, we know there's 60 minutes in an hour. So 2 hours multiplied by 60 is 120, and that represents a total of 142 minutes. In this question, we're being asked to work out the time difference between 4 in the morning and 3:42 a.m., also in the morning. So we can line these up with 4 as the later time and 3:42 as the earlier time. Looking at the different columns, we've got 4 and 3 in the hour column and 5 and 42 in the minutes column. Now we've got a bit of a problem because we can't do 5 minus 42 without a negative occurring, so we need to do some borrowing. So like in subtraction, what we do is we borrow 1 hour from the 4 on top. That's 60 minutes. So we put 60 minutes into the minutes column. What was 405 has become 365 because we just added 60 minutes to the minutes column and subtracted 1 from the hours column. We then go through and subtract as per normal. So in the minutes column, 65 minus 42 is 23. And in the hours column, 3 minus 3 is 0. So the time difference is 23 minutes. In this question, we're being asked to find the difference in time between 12:23 p.m., which is just afternoon, and 1:15 p.m. Now the thing to note is even though both of these times are p.m., in other words both in the afternoon, the earlier time is the 12 and the later time is the 1. So if we put them into their columns, matching the later time and earlier time, we can see that in the hours columns, 1 is less than 12. So if we did 1 minus 12, we'd end up with a negative number. Now consider the clock very carefully. If we consider 12 as noon, that really means that as afternoon starts, no hours have passed. When we get to 1 o'clock, 1 hour has passed. So we can consider 12:23 p.m. when comparing it to a later time as 0:23. And now we need to do our subtraction. We notice as well in the minutes column that 15 is smaller than 23. So 15 minus 23 will end up being a negative number. We need to borrow from the hours column. So we borrow from the hours column, which has got a 1, and that makes it 0 hours. And because we're borrowing, we're taking 60 minutes across to the minutes column. So 15 becomes 75. Now we do the subtraction, and we can see that in the minutes column, 75 minus 23 is 52. And 0 minus 0 in the hours column is 0. So we have a time difference of 52 minutes. In this question, we're being asked to work out the time difference between 1:32 a.m. and 11:14 p.m. Now the question is, which one's the earlier time and later time? In the previous questions it was quite obvious, but in this question you could argue that we're going from 1:32 in the morning on one day all the way through later at night 11:14 p.m. or are we going from late at night 11:14 p.m. until early in the next morning 1:32 a.m. It doesn't specify. So if ever in doubt, what you can do is take the smaller option, but normally a question will specify in that case which is the earlier time and later time. We'll go with 1:32 a.m. as the later time and 11:14 as the earlier time. The trouble now is that we can see in the hours column that we've got 1 minus 11. In other words, we'll end up with a negative number of hours. So what we need to do is consider what's actually happening to the clock as we go from 11:14 p.m. We're increasing the number of hours. So 1:32 a.m. is actually 13 hours compared to 11:14 p.m. We can consider 1:32 as 13:32, and we've got that shown on the clock. We're actually increasing as we go around clockwise from the 11. Now we can do the subtraction. We can see in the minutes column we've got 32 minus 14, and with a little bit of borrowing from the tens column we can see that 32 minus 14 is 18. And in the hours column we've got 13 minus 11, which is 2. So the time difference is 2 hours and 18 minutes. And if we want to convert that all to minutes, 2 hours is equal to 120 minutes, which means the time difference is a total of 138 minutes.